Time Fox News alert on the terror attack in Benghazi. 4 Americans killed that day. Christopher Stevens, our ambassador, dead as well. For the first time, members of Congress going on the record to say that CIA contractors testify there clearly were stand-down orders given in Benghazi when the distress calls went out. Now, what does that all mean? Senior correspondent Adam Housley back on this story as he has from the beginning. Why the confusion when these brave men speak at the hearings on the Hill? The spin appears to be in even before they're giving their own accounts, Adam.
Yeah, that's completely true, Bill. You know, when these men go in front of the committee, it's classified, but we do know a number of others who did not go in front of the committee, who, of course, watch these hearings very closely, and they have various reasons for not coming forward and showing their faces. But what we do know is their stories have not changed since day one. You can go back to our reporting from more than a year ago, Jennifer Griffin and myself, where these men allege, and it's so far shown to be true, that they were told not to go, basically. They were not told to stand up. They were told to stand down in multiple locations around the area, not just in Benghazi, but also in Tripoli. So we went straight to the committee itself, the House Intel Committee, which in some senses has varying reports coming out from its members after they hear from some of these men who were on the ground that night. We contacted a number. There's several things now that we do know that have come out from these hearings. One, the contractors on the ground, their story hasn't changed. The military men on the ground, their story has not changed. Air support was called for, and there was no lull in fighting, and the men were told not to go in multiple locations that night.
The whole issue about stand-down orders is not an issue. There clearly were stand-down orders given to people not only in Benghazi, but also in Tripoli and the State Department's counterterrorism team, the FES team, which is probably the worst of all.
It's kind of a trickle effect here, Billy. It's one of those scandals, really, that just little bits and pieces of information are coming out, and you have to continue to push to get these revelations, Bill.
I bet you do. The House Committee now, the Intelligence Committee, continues to be criticized by some, as you know, as do House Republicans for their continued investigation into Benghazi. How are they handling that, or what can you say could be next year, Adam?
Well, you know, a couple of things are happening. First of all, we have been told that the Senate is preparing to release its report on Benghazi. Chad Pergram, our producer on the Hill, has confirmed that. So we do expect to hear from the Senate and what they say happened that night. But, of course, the House has been able to get potentially more information. They've really been pushing this, of course, controlled by the Republicans. So they push what happened from the State Department's angle, what happened from the CIA angle, what happened from the administration angle. They're still waiting for tons of records that have not been released. Phone records, for example, that have not been given to them. It's been very difficult, but they say they're not giving up.
We still have to ask more and more questions, and when they say these are phony scandals, it's like, well, put it to rest. Let the American people know what was going on there, why the response was what it was, and if it was just a bad mistake, just say it.
Again, that was Congressman Rooney, also on the House Intel Committee from Florida. And one final note, Bill, as I mentioned before, we heard from Congressman Rooney, the Senate is expected to release their report within the next week or so. They say it's basically ready, and that the senators, about 95%, agree on what is in that report. We're working to try to get some details. Chad Pergram, of course, on the Hill, is working that as well.
I bet. Critical information there. Thanks, Adam Housley in Los Angeles.
All right.